What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the DirtX Show, hosted here on the Dirt Exhibition YouTube channel. I am Brendan, here with Rich. And guys, we're talking all things off-road, but today we're talking, when the road meets, or the dirt meets the road, I think is really what we're talking about here, okay? So before we dive into that, guys, a quick word from our sponsors. Guys, the warm weather is right around the corner, and by clicking the link in the description of this video, you can register your auto, side-by-side, motor coach, aircraft, boat, trailer, and more on your Montana LLC and pay $0 in sales tax. Yeah, guys, so a lot of people ask us how we register our side-by-sides for street use. And guys, you click the link in the description below, and it's going to walk you through the entire process, how you can start riding your ATV or side-by-side on the road. That's right, guys. Click the link in the description of this video, and we're going to see you this summer season. And remember, friends don't let friends drive Jeeps. All right, guys, our guest today, this is actually the first time we're doing a virtual guest. This is this is history for the DirtX Show. Our first virtual guest, the man behind Street Legal Side-by-Side, Gary from Street Legal Side-by-Side. Gary, how are you?
Good, guys. How are you guys doing today?
Excellent. We're doing all right. Excellent. We're here on a nice, good Saturday morning in New England, a little chilly. Obviously, you are in the West Coast right now.
Yeah, I'm in sunny but chilly Arizona right now, riding in the desert here, which is pretty amazing. So, yeah, the dirt does meet the road because I do ride the dirt as opposed to everyone that thinks I stick to the street on the street, which is not true. So.
Yeah. So now, Gary, you are the man behind, at least what we will consider, you are the man behind Street Legal Side-by-Side. And there are some major things or big things going on in Street Legal Side-by-Side right now. And I feel like we can take this episode as the opportunity to dive into that a little bit. And just kind of educate people, So for people that don't know anything about Street Legal Side-by-Side or anything about what we're talking about, Gary, you want to just kind of fill them in real quick and just give them a brief overview of everything you guys do?
Sure. So a few years ago, I was riding on a different tag, which was South Dakota, found out it was illegal, and I did some research and found out this whole Montana process, told a few of my friends, and they're like, dude, I want to know. Everybody's texting me. So I said, you know what? Let me throw this on Facebook group. And I did that, and it was literally 3 of us. By COVID time, there were 2,300 of us, and at that point, my main business was shut down, and I had gotten diagnosed with cancer. So I was sitting home every day for 2 years, literally just working this group, just building it and building it and building it. Made an alliance with a company, and we started doing the registrations to help our members out, and we just grew from there. And now we've got 30,000 members. We've got a couple of thousand members at least, just on the East Coast alone, between New England and New Jersey and Pennsylvania, riding on Montana tags. And out of those 30,000 members, really no issues. If there's less than 35 members probably in 3.5 years that have gotten summonses, I'd probably say that 80% of them were finally beat at one level or the other. So we've sort of proven that everything behind the concept is real and it's legal. And there are a couple caveats. Certain states like California and a couple of other states have some caveats, but that's about it.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, so the big thing with side-by-sides in general, like I remember when they first came out, they started to gain popularity. And obviously it's snowballed from there. All the big name manufacturers, Can-Am, Arctic at the time, started producing these machines. And the biggest complaint with side-by-sides initially was they're so goddamn expensive. And everyone's thinking, "Hey, I'm spending all this money on this machine, and I can only ride it in the woods." So naturally, I think I did what most people do is I went online, I started going down the rabbit hole, trying to research, how can I register this thing in my home state, which is Massachusetts. So I started going on Google, poking around, trying to figure out if there was a way to get a commercial plate. At one point in time, we almost went with a low-speed vehicle plate, but that was a little problematic because in Massachusetts, that's 25 miles an hour or less. So again, in we start looking, researching around, and then that's when I found the group. I've actually found the Facebook group, and I'll be honest with you, I started reading through it, and I was like, that's really cool, but there's no way that that's going to work here in Massachusetts because we have some of the strictest laws when it comes to driving on the road. In terms of reciprocity, like, firearms law, for example, Massachusetts doesn't recognize any other state's firearms license. They're very difficult in that way. So when I read this for the first time, I thought this sounds really cool, but there's no way it's going to work here.
Well, let's dive into that a little bit and go down the rabbit hole, as you say, right? So reciprocity. Me personally, I think everything that this group is doing is based on the defense of reciprocity. I mean, it is reciprocity. So we had a case, for instance, in Vermont, and the gentleman was found guilty at the lower level, went to the higher court, and the court said, listen, as far as I'm concerned, you can call this machine a pig with lipstick. I don't care what you want to call it, ATV, UTV, go-kart. As far as I'm concerned, this is a motor vehicle, and I don't care about the titling. It's all based on reciprocity. If the reciprocity statement or law or code or whatever they want to call it states any and all vehicles from another state with proper registration and insurance enters our state, they have full vehicle privileges. It doesn't say with the exception of quadricycle or with the exception of this or exception of that. And so the judge said, based on this, here's my ruling. Overturned, not guilty, and issued a judge's statement saying, as far as I'm concerned, this is a motor vehicle. So that's our challenge, and that's what we've been fighting state after state. We just won in New Jersey a couple weeks ago in Ocean County. Same thing. Surf City Police in New Jersey issued a ticket, went to court. That judge said, I'm going to give you guys a temporary guilty. And I said, well, what's that? Basically, it allows you to bring it to appellate court to fight it. If they said no, it would come down to the next court again and be retried. We had another customer, or client or member, whatever you want to call it, go to court, and they won. And judge said the same thing. So we're winning one after the other. And I think that's sort of the trend here, is that we're educating at the same time, and the judges are now understanding. But it really has nothing to do with what they call it. It's really about reciprocity. In Pennsylvania, we fought ATV on the roadway tickets, and we used to win one after the other because the definition said, and rides on low pressure off highway tires. Well, we don't. So for us, we were winning every ticket. And same with registration. We were getting registration tickets for improper registration or lack of, but yet everybody had a valid Montana tag issued by a Montana Motor Vehicle Department. Finally, the state police admitted they were wrong and told the state senator we're working with that we will not issue those tickets anymore. So everybody's learning, and we're moving forward, and it's less issues as we go.
I mean, obviously, we're in Massachusetts, and again, a lot of people call BS when we talk about street legal side-by-sides. We've had our own experiences. I think one of the things, you kind of touched on it as well, one of the things that we had was off-road vehicle, correct? What was your warning for?
Yeah, so I mean, let's just preface this with, I've been driving around in this Montana tag now for 2 summers in Massachusetts, so 2 years. During that time, I've probably driven through 20 to 30 different towns. I've driven by local police, state police, and in those 2 years, I've only been stopped one time. And that one time I was stopped, it was by an environmental police officer here. And we didn't have good video, but we had audio of that conversation with that officer. And initially, everything checked out. I was on the side of the road for about 45 minutes, and he let me go. So I went home, thought nothing of it. The next day, I got a phone call from my landscaper, and he says, hey, listen, the environmental police are here. There's 2 gentlemen. They're looking for you. He said, is it all right if I give him your number? I said, yes, absolutely. So I got on the phone with the gentleman, and that's when he kind of informed me that he was going to be issuing me a warning for operating a recreational vehicle on a public way. So I got operating a recreational vehicle on a public way and operating a recreational vehicle without a helmet. And I went back and forth with him on the phone. I explained. I said, okay, I understand, but I understand why you would think that warning would be sufficient, but you got to understand that this is not a recreational vehicle. And I don't have the law in front of me, but when you read Massachusetts' definition of a recreational vehicle, it's very clear that something that's titled with an on-road registration does not qualify as a recreational vehicle. And then, the guy gave me a hard time, so on and so forth, whatever. It didn't really go anywhere from there. He gave me a really hard time about the helmet. So in the state of Massachusetts, we have a helmet law for motorcycles. So essentially it states that anyone operating a motorcycle, whether it's on or off-road, is required to wear a helmet. Where it gets tricky or where it gets clear is Massachusetts defines a motorcycle as a vehicle that is 3 wheels or less. So that helmet law technically only applies to a vehicle that's 3 wheels or less. So again, that was going back 2 summers ago, the end of the summers when I got that ticket, or that morning, I should say. And I've been driving around this whole summer on the machine. We now have 2 machines here at the shop with Montana tags on them. We have a Polaris Turbo S, and most recently our Polaris Ranger Crew. And again, we've driven by 30 local police departments, state police, everything, and we haven't been stopped since, put it that way.
So let me say this. When it comes down to the definitions, right? So all of our vehicles are converted after signing a commitment to the state of Montana that we're going to make it street legal, right? Or on-road use. So we fill out what they call an MV70 form, and we agree to put all these different things on our machines, which in Montana, believe it or not, isn't that much. Like literally, they don't even require a turn signal kit. But we tell our members, please don't even join us and don't register for a tag if you're not going to spend for a turn signal kit. All it does is raise a red flag if you don't have things like that, or a windshield. That too is not required. You need eye protection. But what are you going to do when you're raining? It's raining outside and you're in there and you're behind a tractor trailer, and you should have the proper safety stuff, as far as I'm concerned. When it comes to that title, like I said, they convert it once you sign that MV70 to a street legal vehicle. And it says regular / off-highway on your registration. And you get 2 registrations. One is for off-highway and one is for street. There's no reason you should get a ticket for riding an ATV, because it's sort of like converting or doing a kit car. Once you get a kit car, you assign a VIN number, right? This is made in your garage, and that's legal, and you can ride it like a car. So the way we look at it is exactly that. And you're right, back to the definition of a motorcycle. Normally, every state's definition is one of 2, which is a motor vehicle with 3 wheels or less, such as a autocycle, which is their other category, which is 3-wheel, or motorcycle, which I've not seen that vary other than a 2-wheel motor vehicle. So you're not riding a motorcycle, and you're not riding a, slingshot. You're riding a 4-wheel motor vehicle. And that's what the registration says. And it qualifies it as regular. Regular on, let's say, an MDT references, which is the police mobile data terminal, references regular as standard street legal. If it said off-road, it would be off-road. So how policemen give tickets for improper registration or riding an ATV or recreational vehicle on the street is beyond me, because it just doesn't fit. You know what they say, if the glove doesn't fit.
Yep. I think what it really comes down to is lack of information, right? They're ignorant to the law, and they don't really know what they're doing, and they're probably getting a lot of pressure, or there's probably a little bit of ego that comes into play in terms of, their belief on what this is and then what they think they should do. Again, it always boils down to lack of information. This is still new. Not a lot of people know about it. Like I said, the people who support it even question it. So I think the massive, or the biggest thing we can do right now is just educate. Educate. Right. Have these podcasts, do these shows, talk to people about why it is legal, answer questions. The Facebook group Street Legal Side by Side is an amazing resource. I mean, just to be able to log on to Facebook and open up that search bar and type in any questions that you have is amazing. It's a huge resource.
Yeah, and you can also search by state. So like I've been in the Facebook group, and I start searching like Massachusetts, trying to find other members that are in Massachusetts that have dealt with these types of issues. So.
Absolutely. So you can use that little magnifying glass at the top of the page, put in the name, the name of the state that you're in, and you'll see every thread that was posted. And it's cool because then you've got members from your state, and you can ask them questions. And that's an everyday event on our group. You can look right now and you'll see guys from Florida saying, hey, where's all my Florida guys at? Where do you guys ride? How about a group ride? And that's another thing we're doing now. We're going to be organizing regional group rides, as I mentioned to you guys the other day. We'd love to do one in New England. We have so many members up there that would love to ride.
Yep.
And I think that when we ride in groups, we sort of send a message too. And these police maybe drive up and they go, wow, there's 20 of these guys in a row. This must be legal.
Yeah.
You know, maybe I'll pull them over and ask them questions, but they all can't be crazy.
Yeah.
So,
and to be fair, you know, the officer that stopped us that day, super polite. You know, yeah, and I feel like it's.
Oh, yeah.
I feel like attitude is everything. You know, and you know when he approached me and he asked me about it, I was super polite. I was very open, and I think it's important for people that are trying to go this route to understand that, you know, by default, police officers and people in the community are going to be a little taken back. And the only way that you can help kind of ease that tension a little bit is to be honest, be open, and again, just treat people the way you want to be treated. You know, if you guys are getting stopped in your machine and and you start giving the police officer a hard time, you know, hey, you don't know what you're talking about, so on and so forth, no one's going to win.
Right, and I agree. And so here's my one caveat too. I'd like to tell all our members, do not try to hold court on the side of the road. It's not going to happen.
Yep.
You were a man to buy the machine. You're a man to spend that kind of money for a toy. Take it to court, plead not guilty, and move on from there. And so far, so good.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, out of 30,000 people, we've got less than 40 in 3.5 years that have gotten summonses, and the majority have beaten them either at the magistrate or lower court local level, and then moved it to appellate and won.
Another amazing thing about the Facebook group is that guys are posting their wins. Guys are posting, you know, their appeals and whatnot. And
right.
I always say it's important to have that printed out, and we keep that with us. So if we're out on the road, we're saying, hey, listen, not only is this why it's legal, but here's some wins, and take a look at this. Here's some documents.
Yeah.
And then that might
motivate
their decision roadside.
100%. And I actually I have photocopies of my title. Mm-hmm. You know, you're not required to drive around with a photocopy of your title in the vehicle, but
yeah, let's talk about that. So every day members ask, hey, what should I carry with me? And that's really, really important. So I give them a short list. I say driver's license, registration, and insurance card, as always, right? Then I say, keep a copy of your LLC documents, which I guess we'll talk about in a little bit and explain how we do this licensing process. So keep a copy of those because they show that you're the owner of the LLC who your vehicle was registered with. Then I would carry a copy of your reciprocity statute for your state. Always important. In case he asks about it, you can explain it to him, right? Then if you know of anybody locally that's won this kind of a case, keep a copy of that and the docket number. It's cool to educate, but like I said, you don't want to have a battle on the side of the road. You're not trying to have a court session. It's not fair to either party, right?
Right.
Plus, maybe he'll do some research and see. We've had police officers go to our group and then call the members back and say, hey, I went to your group and I looked into this and this and I checked into this, and it's a little gray line for us, so we're not going to issue a summons. You know, so I think it is about education. That's part of our game plan too, is that on Street Legal and on MontanaTags.com, we're going to have some educational videos, whether it be for law enforcement, insurance agents, dealers, all that kind of thing, so they can understand the process and why it's needed.
That's awesome. Now you just mentioned it right now, MontanaTags.com. I think now is probably a good time to jump into that. Again, massive thing for you and for us and what's going on. So let's dive into that, MontanaTags.com.
Sure, absolutely. So as you guys know, for the last 3.5 years, our group was working with a company that was handling all the processing of the registrations for our members. And recently, right by before the beginning of the year, they increased the prices just about 25% without even discussing it with us. And, you know, having a group of 30,000 people, we sort of felt it was important that they bring matters like that to us before making decisions that will affect 30,000 different people. And they just weren't interested. They said, nope, we're not lowering the prices. If you want to leave and refer your members somewhere else. So I said, okay. And I had an epiphany, and it was, well, if they can do this, why can't we do this? Myself, having some background in business, I figured, hey, let me see what it takes. So with our lawyers and our accountants, we were able to get licensed in the state of Montana as a commercial registered agent, which gives us the ability to do registrations and file LLCs directly with the state secretary's office and move things even a little quicker. Before, the turnaround time was 3 weeks for tags and registration. Now we're 7 to 10 business days.
Wow.
The title used to take Yeah, title used to take 6 weeks. We're now 7 to 10 days. When you get your package from us, it's not just going to have your tags and reg in there. It's going to have your title as well. And those are fees that apparently I'm going to assume the other agency didn't want to pay, which is the expediting fees. And we are doing that to get everything moved through a lot quicker.
Which is great, because when people hear about this and they want to get their machine street legal, I mean, time is we're in the Amazon Prime time. You know what I mean? Everybody wants things,
Listen,
next
man,
day.
Listen, you see, it's so funny. Guys will do videos, unboxing as they call it, their envelope. And go, guys, look what I got. And they hold up their envelope and they're like, look, I'm going to open it.
Yep.
And they open the thing and they take out the paperwork and they show it. And then they take out the tag and they show it. It's like Christmas, man. But I have to tell you, it was that way for me. I kept checking and checking my mailbox, and finally there it was. And I was thrilled when I got my license, man. It was like Christmas with a brand new remote control toy. I got to go out and play right after I got my tag.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And for guys listening or watching the show here, again, click that link in the description of this video. That's going to bring you right to MontanaTagscom, and then you'll be able to get yourself registered. And again, summer's right around the corner, so you're going to be able to enjoy the summer season here. If you're in New England or if you're in Arizona, I mean, probably all year round.
Sure. Well, I'm here because I'm promoting the group and Montana Tags, and besides all that, it's super street legal here.
Yeah.
So when you go out, you pull up to a light and you're with a police officer who's driving a Defender, a Can-Am Defender.
That's awesome.
You pull into a restaurant here. It's so funny. And like half the parking lot are side by sides.
We've never been out to that side of the country when it comes to riding or anything along those lines. So that's actually one thing that we'd love to do, is head out west, get some riding in out there, and bring our street legal side by sides.
I say we should do that. Why
yeah.
not?
How about this? When are you coming to New England?
I'm not sure yet. So from here, I head up to Montana for a little bit with a quick stop in Sedona. And then there's UTV Takeover out at Coos Bay, Oregon in June.
Yep.
So I'm thinking I might stay up this way a little bit to handle those conferences and those events.
Yeah.
We like to sponsor UTV Takeover. We did it the year before in Grundy, Virginia. And it was awesome. Anywhere you can go where you see 5,000 machines or 10,000 machines riding through the dunes together at night with their whip lights flashing, it's just badass. And the events and all the jumping shows and the races and the vendors, it's so cool to go to those events.
It is.
We have a big event like that up here near us.
Yeah, so let me tell you, in your area, it's not exactly that close, but I know people travel to what they call FRO, which is Famous Riding Outdoor. It's a huge riding facility in northeastern PA, about 27,000 acres. And you could ride there all week long, dude, and never cover the same trail. They're having something called the Summer Fest, and they're having a Mud Fest. And those are awesome events. And we'll probably have one of our group members there with a tent that we like to call our Street Legal Member Lounge. And we just have it set up where guys can come by, sit down, and shoot the chat with everybody, and finally put faces to the voices and to the messages on the screen.
Nice.
Yeah, so I mean, we spend a lot of time riding up in New Hampshire, and there's actually a couple of towns up there that allow you to operate your side-by-side on the road without having Montana tags. It's kind of a seasonal thing. They do that so that you can be connected to all the trail systems and stuff. And that's a super unique experience for people around here because, again, we're not used to seeing side-by-sides on the road. And when you go up there, it's similar to what you said. You go to every restaurant, half the vehicles in the parking lot are side-by-sides. And this is really, the Montana tags now are really revolutionizing that because there are areas up there where you can't ride on the road legally. They're not considered ATV-friendly roads, and this kind of bridges the gap in between those trail systems. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I think it's very cool. I mean, that was really the reason why myself and my buddies wanted to do this too. Is we ride up at FRO in Pennsylvania, and we'll do 70 or 80 miles, 90 miles, and we got to fuel up. I'm sure we carry fuel cans and all that, but it's easier to just pull up to an Exxon or whatever we're going to and fill up or get some food.
100%.
We just didn't want issues. And so that was what we thought would be the answer. But we found that we were still getting approached by police, and we showed them what we're doing, and they pretty much left us alone.
can we hit on some of the objections? Like, what are like the very first objections that you might get if you're stopped, or people might have when they're researching this? And for me, I think the first one is, being in Massachusetts, they see the Montana tag, and the very first words out of their mouth are, "Hey, that might fly in Montana, but that doesn't fly here." So can you kind of explain?
Yeah, we hear that all the time, which is, "Hey, man, you can't ride this on the road." And we say, "We can." They go, "Well, this might be legal in Montana, but it's sure not legal here." And I said, "Well, have you ever heard of the reciprocity statute?" And I'll pull it out and I'll show him. And I'll say, "See this? Any and all vehicles registered legally in your home state will have full privileges in our state." "Yeah, but that doesn't have anything to do with ATVs." I said, whoa, wait a minute. It's not an ATV. Look here on the registration. It's a quadricycle, a four-wheel motorcycle. "Oh, well, you need to have a helmet then." No. Your law here, it says your quadricycle. There is no quadricycle. So it's 3 wheels and under requires a helmet in your state, or doesn't. So I try to educate myself. And I think the best way for guys to do that is hang out on the group and read. One of the most annoying things that happens is guys come on and they go, "How do I make my, machine street legal?" And the members get annoyed. Or they go, "How is this possibly legal?" If you guys just use that search, there's so much information to learn that you can take with you on the road. And members are more than happy to answer questions. If you say, "Hey, what should I bring on the street with me?" Guys are going to tell you. They'll even post their own list, a picture of their Ziploc bag, and they keep it in. Everybody wants this movement to grow. So we're all willing to help. One of the other objections from police is, "This isn't safe." And the first guy that said that to me was in Pennsylvania. And it's funny because it's a no helmet state. So I said, wait a minute, this is not safe, but a Harley at 70 miles an hour with a 65 or 70-year-old guy and his wife on the back behind the tractor trailer going 75 on the turnpike is safe? And they just look at you and they're like, "I don't want to see you again." And they walk away.
Yeah.
It's like, it's the funniest thing. And then it was, "Oh, these are illegal. These are ATVs." Well, the tires aren't legal. Okay, well, then it was, "Now go ahead and give them a ticket for registration." "Oh, well, that's legal too now, so we can't do that." It's just education, like you said, Brennan. It's really all about lack of education with certain areas. Police officers are educated about a lot of things, but not everything, And so we try to bring that to light, and so far, so good.
Yep. I feel like another objection that I heard when I was stopped was, "Well, you know that you have to register this in your home state, right? You only have 30 days to transfer an out-of-state registration to your home state." So
that was the answer of Montana, right? So what we found out was South Dakota was illegal because in most states between 15 and 45 days, you must, as a resident of that state, transfer your vehicle back. Well, the reason we do Montana is we actually set up an LLC, a limited liability corporation. And this type of LLC is not the one you would, have for your car washing business or your plumbing business or your landscape business. This is one you have to simply hold and possess assets. So, for instance, I have a family member that owns a lot of property. Every property is in another LLC named by that address, for instance, 101 Main Street LLC. And that's for liability reasons. That's for a number of reasons. So that acts as the resident of Montana. So what happens is that vehicle is now a resident of Montana, and it does not plan to move to the state of Massachusetts or any other state. And what ends up happening is that there is no requirement to move it back. So that's the answer for that. The LLC is the resident of Montana with no interest in moving back to Massachusetts, and that's how it's done.
Yeah, and we always use the reference of, say Enterprise Rent-A-Car or maybe U-Haul. If you guys have ever rented a car, you might notice, hey, I live in Massachusetts, but my car has New York plates. Or, hey, I rented a U-Haul van and it's registered in Arizona. U-Haul isn't required to move that registration from Arizona to Massachusetts or vice versa. So that's that's a good way, I think, to bridge the gap in education and to help officers or other people kind of understand it a little bit better.
Right, I understand. So let me introduce you to Ed, since he just peeked in here. Ed's one of our guys. He helps out promoting the group and everything else. So
awesome.
I don't know if you can hear him at all, but this is Ed, and
What's up,
you guys
Ed?
might be hearing from him in the future.
Nice.
Awesome.
Well, we're closing in on our time, Gary. So big things coming for street legal side by side again throughout the entire country. Obviously, MontanaTags.com. What else can we see from you in the near future?
Well, you're going to see a lot of things between the groups now that we have our own licensing entity and we have the group. We're going to do things that the other company didn't do for various reasons. One, we're going to offer big discounts to the MontanaTags.com client base in regards to items that we sell to make your vehicle street legal through the Street Legal website. We have a lot of deals right now being put together with a lot of major suppliers. I can't name them right now because we're going to release big programs where if you sign up and you're a member of Street Legal, you might get 20% coupon off of a company such as, well, let's just say like a UTV Source or a Super ATV. Lots of benefits for members. That's the biggest thing. We also work with a couple of insurance companies. So we're trying to consider the idea of maybe grouping together members to get better rates. Things like that. So it seems to be power in numbers. That's how we're advancing the group. So we want to do the same thing and advance Montana Tags.
Awesome. Well. Awesome. Yeah. So again, MontanaTags.com about to be the one-stop shop for anything street legal side by side, which we're very excited for. I'm excited to see what comes in the future. And yeah, I mean, I think we're going to be doing many more of these.
Yeah, I got to say one other thing too. I think that's what puts us above everybody else when it comes to the Montana tag and registered agent industry is that we are street legal guys. So when you call an agency and say, hey, is it legal in the state of New Jersey? They go, well, we can't tell you whether it is or not. You have to read your state laws. Well, that defeats the purpose, right? We understand it because we do it. We've been pulled over. I've got videos of being pulled over by police and had incredible interactions where they say, hey, I'm going to get my vehicle registered tomorrow. What's that website? Because they realize once they run it, it's legal. So
awesome. Any last words, Gary?
I just hope everyone has the opportunity to enjoy their machines like I do and like you guys said. I mean, I would park my machine in my warehouse and maybe every 2 weeks I'd be able to take it to the trails, which was 2 hours one way, 2 hours the other way, cleaning the machine, and then get up on Monday morning to go to work. Once I put that tag on, it's my daily driver. I don't know if you guys can see this, but my machine's right here. You know, I drive it on a regular basis. There we go. I drive it every day. I drive it through the drive-through. I take it, everywhere I'm going. It's an awesome thing to do.
Get a lot of looks and a lot of smiles, right?
Absolutely. And a lot of waves from police.
One of the other things objections that came up was people are always talking about, oh, those things are really nice, but they're really expensive. If that was the case, I would just buy a Jeep. Well, guess what? Now you don't have to drive around in a Jeep. Yeah, no. Now you can drive your side by side.
Yeah, no, that's true. But the cool thing is there's an entry level machine or pricing too for everybody. So sure, you can buy a pre-owned Polaris or something like that for $10,000. Yep. $8,000, and make it $7,000 even, and make it street legal. That's the cool thing about Montana. Is that it's pretty wide open and pretty relaxed when it comes to that. Well, I guess if any of your members are currently riding street legal, either with the previous company we were using or another company, they can go on our website and there's 3 transfer sheets. They can pick which company they're using and they can click it. And literally just by clicking I agree, we can switch control of the LLC over to Montana Tags and you'll probably enjoy some better pricing and quicker service.
Yeah,
that doesn't cost you anything to do.
That's good. Yeah, that's something we're going to have to do.
Yep, for sure.
Absolutely.
We're going to get on that. But that's it, guys. If this is your first time watching the show, go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. We will be doing way more street legal side-by-side content this coming season, and hopefully going to be a good resource for everybody who is riding legal on the street.
Yep.
Any closing statements?
Not much, man. I'm just excited.
Yeah. All right, guys, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.